Welcome, everybody, to your West Side Lions podcast. I'm your host here, Ben Miller. You can find me at Lions West Side on Twitter. If you've not done so already, get over there. We are now officially followed by the official Detroit Lions Twitter page. So that is pretty darn cool. That happened this last week. Super excited about that. Detroit Lions now follow us on Twitter as well. So if they're doing it, why aren't you? Head on over there, give us a follow. We have a game that we are going to briefly talk about today. Lions versus the Seahawks played. It was an ugly game, so we're just going to talk really briefly about it, and we're going to move on to more fun things, kind of looking into the offseason. So we've got our two co-hosts here, Austin and Jake, are both here today. I'm just going to kind of, hop right into it. Austin, the game was ugly. What'd you think about it? What was the biggest issue that you saw from this game?
Run defense.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Rashad Penny, ran the ball on us, whenever he wanted and however far he wanted to go. So
Yeah.
that,
I
that
mean,
was
we've
that was
we've talked
ugly.
about that. Yeah, we've talked about our run defense. It's not great. It's really not. And
It's
that's what
bad.
Seahawks and that's what the Seahawks wanted to do, and they obliterated us. I mean, a guy who I had on my negatives big time. I just rewatched the game. Levi Onwuzurike had an awful game. Like, not even just bad, he had an awful game. He looked very, very, very bad. And he's a rookie, but we're at the second to last game of the season. He should not be looking that bad. That was very bad showing by him. And we kind of need him in that middle of the defense to kind of help out there. Jake, there were probably plenty of things that went bad in this game, just besides just the run game. What else was a big negative you took away from this game?
Just the defense in general. I mean, Russell Wilson had his way through the air as well. He had 4 passing touchdowns and no interceptions. I mean, this is Russell Wilson, and the Seahawks do have great wide receivers, but at the same time, you just can't let that happen. Our
Yeah.
defense failed throughout the day. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm also going to say our run game wasn't great either. DeAndre Swift
Yeah.
was limited a bit because of his injury in the past couple of weeks, but our run game was just terrible. And I'll even say it too. Our pass game wasn't perfect. Everything was just kind of not good.
Far from perfect, I would have to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, you mentioned it here. Because this is a discussion point I want to quickly go about. So Dan Campbell in a press conference, I think it was talking to the media on Wednesday. It was either Wednesday or Thursday before the game. Got questioned about Swift's injury, and he said, DeAndre Swift looks great this week. He is like one of the only players who's 100%. He's not only 100%, but he's like a fresh player. It's very rare you see a player that is fresh this late into the season, and it's very refreshing to have a player like that. So my mind immediately thinks, okay, if you have a fresh star player, you're going to lean on him heavily in this game. Like I said, I just rewatched this game. They ran with him, I think, total of 4 to 5 times in the game.
It was 4,
That's
I
it.
think.
That's all. And one of those runs was like a 30-yard run, and then they just never did it anymore. That's it. I don't get that. How is it? I mean, and Tim Boyle, I think, clearly didn't have, the repertoire with Swift because, the little out routes that he does or the little hitch routes. Usually Jared Goff will hit him on those because he knows that Swift has big play capability in those situations, but Tim Boyle just didn't do it. He would not throw it to Swift no matter what. Are you guys thinking that maybe Swift was still a bit injured and maybe that's why they limited him a little bit? Because it seemed like anytime they were running the ball, they wanted to do it with Jamal Williams and Craig Reynolds.
Personally, I think that I personally think that they limited him because of his injury in the past. I don't think he was injured into the game because I do believe that Campbell. I do believe Dan Campbell when he says that he's fresh, but I don't think they want to ruin that fresh heading into the off season.
Yeah.
I don't
Austin,
know how to
what about
say
you?
it. It's disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wish they would have left him out. And I mean, not risk the injury. The season's already done. Really no point to have him in there. He's one of our star players. We don't need him injured, and I mean, he's one of our building pieces to build around for the whole offense. So,
But isn't there something to finishing out a game, like, and continuing to build? Because that's another thing Dan Campbell said was, because he was asked, why don't you just sit Swift for the rest of the year? He's like, because he has still a lot he can build from for the year, because he still has so much he can build from. Would you rather see a guy like Swift just sit and not risk getting injured while possibly missing out on some development with these final games of the season, or do you kind of take the risk and let him develop? Austin, what about you?
yeah, I mean, obviously, coach knows best, but I mean, if he wants to give him a little momentum these last few games to help him try and build on for next year, then I mean, all means, go for it. I was just looking at his rushing yardages from this last game, and it's really weird. Like he had 4 carries for 32 yards, and his longest carry was 31 yards.
Right. Yeah.
So on 3 of his other carries, he only got 1 yard,
Right. Where they
which is
ran
really
it.
weird.
Yeah, they ran it directly up the middle with DeAndre Swift as the entire defensive line and linebackers crushed down on him on each of those other plays. And then they didn't try to do anything else with him. Like, he's got so
No,
much speed to try to
nuts.
get to the outside. They didn't do it. They just didn't do it. It was a very odd game with DeAndre Swift, I thought. And that's been my biggest question. And still, like, I have not heard anybody from the media or anything ask Dan Campbell about it. It just seemed very, very odd to me that specifically after how much he praised how much Swift would be ready and is fresh, he just didn't get the play time. And I was very shocked by that. Number 2 thing, actually, Jake mentioned, and I want to bring it back up because I am still on this boat, and it may not matter because it's end of the season. But Tim Boyle, how do you guys feel about Tim Boyle right now? Jake, I'll start with you. He had 3 interceptions. How you feeling?
I do not want him a part of this team next year. I know he's not the starter, but still, I'd hate seeing 3 interceptions. So I don't want that on our team.
Yeah. I mean, Austin, what about you? Anything else you want to add for Tim Boyle there?
You were defending him
Big
last
thumbs
week.
down for me. Okay,
Just saying.
last week he didn't play that bad. I mean, yeah, sure. I guess he has an off week this week.
You're talking
I-
about like
I mean,
he's like
I don't
Tom Brady
know.
or something.
This is his 3rd game in his career that he's ever started.
I don't
Obviously,
give.
he's not gonna ever be a starter in the NFL.
Yeah. I think that he's got those
I don't know.
issues that keep coming up. I talked about it in our last game, right? Like, his ball placement's not good. Like, he's just not going to hit you where you're supposed to be getting hit for these plays. It's going to be underthrown, overthrown, thrown out to the side that you don't want it. I mean, it's just not going to be where you're wanting it to go, which is going to lead to 3 interceptions. He tries to make decisions too quick sometimes, which is like where that one play where it was a fumbled snap and he picked it up and immediately threw it without like seeing what's happening because he had time. He picked the ball up and immediately tossed it out there and got picked off. And I mean, like, he just tries to go too fast sometimes. And I'm just like so done with him. I feel like at this point, like at some point in this game, why didn't you just put out David Blau? Like, why not?
Or
Like,
even Jack Fox.
True. Jack Fox is like our most accurate quarterback on the team. So,
Yeah.
but like, what
Yeah,
is it that
yeah.
David Blau like did to Dan Campbell where they won't even just give him an opportunity. Like, not a chance. I don't get it. I think after Tim Boyle is, 3 interceptions deep, you're down by like 30, just let David Blau try. What's the worst that he does? Throw an interception?
Okay, so I don't know if you guys saw what Mike Zimmer. Did you see Mike Zimmer's comments on Kellen Mond?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike Zimmer was asked why Kellen Mond didn't get a bigger chance in their game, and
He just
he
basically
says,
I don't want to
he
see him.
says,
I've
I
seen
see
him in
him every
practice."
day I
Yeah.
see him every day in practice. I don't want to see him more out there.
He doesn't have to
And
worry about that. He's going to get fired soon.
yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I guess that has me thinking like maybe it's the same way with Blau.
Yes.
I mean, I'd love to see Blau get his chance, but I mean, part of me thinks that maybe it's the same way that, they see Blau every day in practice and they don't think he has what it takes. But
It's very, very interesting. And like we said, probably doesn't matter because hopefully Jared Goff will be ready to go by our final game coming up. And I would sure hope Tim Boyle is no longer a part of our team after this offseason. But Dan Campbell today just talked about how much he loved the guy. So I really don't know. But I really hope that he's not part of our team next year. I just want to quick throw out one more name that's a positive for our team. I think Jalen Reeves-Maybin is continuing to play way above what he was expected to coming in. He's kind of like all over the place, still making plays. While the defense in general did not play great, he had a few plays that were pretty neat to see. So I enjoyed seeing him and continue to see him grow. I think he'll probably be somebody we re-sign in this offseason. But I don't know about you two.
Can I mention one
go ahead.
more name? Amon-Ra St. Brown
Oh,
has just been
yeah.
on fire recently. He was NFL Rookie of the Month last month, and he's just keeping up on the same pace, and it gets me really excited for next year because this team will definitely be a lot better next year. And he's had a full season under the Lions, and I definitely could see him possibly being a 1,000-yard receiver next year. It's really exciting to see a fourth-round talent like Amon-Ra St. Brown really ball out like that. 2 touchdowns, 101 yards. That's really something that just makes you happy.
Yeah, he also just got the NFL record for the most consecutive games with 8 or more passes. So a rookie wide receiver with more than 8 catches in a game. So that's pretty cool. Love to see that.
I mean, he's no like Jamar Chase or Jalen Waddle, but at the same time, like I definitely think he's top 10 rookie wide receiver right now. He's really doing well, and I definitely think a lot of teams are scratching their heads why they didn't draft him earlier.
Are you talking top 10 all time or just top 10 this year?
No, top 10 this year.
Yeah, I'd say top 5 this year.
I think it's close. I definitely think because
Jamar Chase is one.
Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle. I think Devontae Smith has done pretty well.
I feel like Amon-Ra's done better than Devontae Smith, though.
I agree.
Yeah, I'd say I put him in the top 5 because the other guy I was thinking about was Kadarius Toney, but he only did well in the first 4 weeks. So
right.
Yeah,
I think I'd say he's top 5.
Maybe even top 3.
It's true. Speaking of top, however many, let's get into the actual like fun stuff that we want to talk about.
Okay, I got one more shout out.
Son of a gun, Austin.
Sorry.
Okay, what you got?
Shout out to Taylor Decker for getting his first ever
big man touchdown.
Big man touchdown.
His second touchdown of all time that he has gotten. That's amazing. I remember watching the first one, and he chucked that ball.
Yeah.
And he chucked that ball up into the stands, and then he had to be like, "Please give me that ball back." That's awesome. It was so cool to see that. I love that. I want to see one go to Panay at one point. That's what I want to. I want to see that happen in Green Bay.
Or somehow Frank Ragnow someday. Somehow.
Oh yeah, Frank. I want to see Frank Ragnow get a touchdown someday too. Okay, So I actually have one more discussion piece before we get into our top 10 list. Did both of you watch the Orange Bowl? Michigan versus Georgia?
I didn't watch it, but I saw the score. It was really
Okay.
good to see.
Austin, did you watch it?
Unfortunately.
Okay. So I guess this one goes more for specifically for you because you watched the game. Does the Orange Bowl game alter your opinion at all about Aiden Hutchinson and at what point he should be drafted? Because he got just wrecked in that game.
Yes and no. Well, yeah, it
Gotta
does.
remember, Georgia's a very good team.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just crazy to watch that game and just see how big of a talent gap there is between Georgia and Michigan.
Yeah.
To me, that was just mind blowing. I never thought that the talent gap was that big. Going out and you see our, 200 and plus change pound offensive linemen, and then they announce their D line, and they've
Jordan
got
Davis comes up and he just looks like
265 guys that
flippin'
are
monster.
360 pounds, and I'm like, oh
Which,
my
let's be
gosh.
honest, I would be okay if we picked up Jordan Davis.
Oh my god, those guys are monsters.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So does Hutchinson still reign number one on your board, Austin?
yeah. Out of the talent in this class, Hutchinson is still number one on my board.
Okay. Jake, I know you didn't watch the game, but after seeing how Hutchinson got wrecked in that game, how does that, because I know you weren't particularly set yet on your rankings for the top players in the draft. Does that alter Hutchinson at all for you?
Yes, it does, because I'm pretty sure Kayvon Thibodeau is gonna have a better combine and pro day, and even after that game, I'm leaning towards Kayvon. So I think Kayvon's gonna be my number one.
Okay. Yeah, I think after the Ohio State game, Hutchinson just rose on like everyone's draft, and I think that might have been a little bit of like rose-colored goggles. And I think that Hutchinson deserves to be in the discussion of the top two. I don't think at any point he was the clear number one. And I think that this Georgia game took off a bunch of Michigan fans and rose goggles and is like, okay, well, maybe he's not like exactly the top guy. To be fair, Georgia always had a guy chipping him, whether it was a running back, tight end, whatever. They always ran the ball away from Hutchinson. They definitely game planned around stopping Hutchinson. However,
they did a very good job at that.
Yes. However, that still, is now in people's minds and it starts to get people talking. I think I'm in the same boat as Jake at this point. Like, I think that Hutchinson and Kayvon are definitely in right there, 1 and 2, 1A, 1B, whatever you want to call it. I think as of this point, Kayvon is highest on mine. However, I think it's going to be interesting to see Pro Day come out and the combine. I think Hutchinson's still going to put up great numbers because he is a freak athlete. I just think Kayvon's going to have all of the measurables that somebody's going to want. However, we're not number one pick, right? We're number 2. So we might not get a choice of who we get.
So I changed my list from last week from would I rather have number 1 or 2 to number 1 now.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll get into more draft for sure. But I wanted to throw that out there since the Orange Bowl just happened, and I was interested on your guys' thoughts about that. So let's move into the team needs. We're going to go into assuming the people who got injured on our team come back healthy. That means Okuda's back at like normal strength. You know, people didn't really take that much of a hit on their ongoing talent because of an injury. So Romeo Okwara is still just like what he was when he left. We're going to go into our team needs. So I want to go through it and see kind of what you guys are thinking for our biggest needs for the team. Right now, we can kind of just name off different positions and we can kind of rank them as needed afterwards if that's what you guys want to do. So let's kind of just throw out a couple needs and discuss them. So what's some of our needs that you guys know of?
Linebacker.
Edge rusher.
Okay, so let's do linebacker first. So yeah, as of right now, I think it's only Derek Barnes who's on contract after this year. So free agency draft linebacker is going to have to be addressed. I would assume Jalen Reeves-Maybin gets re-signed. Alex Anzalone is difficult because this is, I think, his 6th season where he did not finish out his season due to a shoulder injury. And shoulder injuries are kind of, tricky like that. I don't know if you want to pay a guy a ton of money to miss half the season with a shoulder injury every time. So linebacker is definitely a need to be considered. And Austin, you said edge?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's think about it. So right now for edge, we have Romeo. We've got Julian, Austin Bryant. We have
Trey Flowers.
Charles Harris is not signed as of right now. Trey Flowers. I would assume
He needs to be gone.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would assume Trey Flowers gets cut because of the cap casualty that would happen with him. I don't know for sure, but I would assume that's happening. So I would definitely say edge is a possibility of a need there. What else are we thinking? We started off the season as wide receiver was our number one. Is wide receiver as big of a need anymore? I'm thinking it's still a need.
Yes.
Is it
Yeah.
as
Still
big
a
of a
big
need
need.
anymore?
Yes, it is.
You think so?
I think our
Yeah.
only starter caliber wide receiver we have on our roster is Amon-Ra. Quintez, I know you guys like Quintez, but I could see him as number 4. I don't see him as
I see
top
him as
3
like a
offense.
number 3.
What about Josh Reynolds?
With more talent, I don't see him being up there on our list.
Okay. Well, then we will put wide receiver on the list. What else is next? What other needs do we have here?
Tight end.
Tight end. I think tight end's a sneaky one because we have a great starting tight end. However, we have nobody behind him. Like we have literally we were picking people off of practice squads to fill into this game. We have no.
That's why
backup
Taylor
tight
Decker
ends.
got a touchdown.
Yeah, we have 0 backup tight ends right now. So tight end is definitely a need. At some point, it has to be addressed. We just don't have them. What else?
Quarterback.
Secondary.
You said quarterback. Okay. Secondary.
Backup quarterback.
I'm just gonna keep QB.
Goff is not the answer.
I would say
He is
safety
for the next year.
I would say safety is a pretty big need.
Mm-hmm.
Will Harris in this last game just looked lost, and sadly that happens way too often. That Will Harris just seems lost out on the field. I am very ready to be gone of Will Harris.
I don't think cornerback is a big need because of who we have. We have Jeff Okuda coming back. We have Jerry Jacobs coming back. Amani Oruwariye coming back. Ifitu Melifonwu. AJ Parker. I think it's solid. I definitely think we could sign a better. I'd rather us draft mid-round cornerback rather than like sign one. But I'm honestly fine with the development we're having with the cornerbacks right now.
Okay, so do we think that corner is one of our top needs or no?
No, I don't think so. Personally,
I think safety more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to switch it to top 5 list instead of top 10 list. So, okay. Is there any other positions that you think is a desperate need for this team?
I think a solid number 2 running back is a need for us because Jamal Williams is great for like the mentality of the team, but I haven't
Here's
been super impressed with him. I know he's a good like ground and pound guy, a good guy to get a first down on like a 4th and 1/3 or 1 situation, but I definitely want a more I want a back that could do more than that, a more
So why do you have
versatile back.
Swift?
I know that's why
I
we have Swift, but Swift's injuries in his first 2 seasons has not been spectacular.
Okay,
I
I
think
have a question for you guys. It's a little off topic, but when we took Swift, do you know who was still available in the draft?
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah. If you could
Well,
trade them right now, would you?
yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure because so this is what I was about to say. I don't like the way that we've done the running back 1A, 1B thing because it's taken away from Swift. I think DeAndre Swift could be an amazing superstar runner. He's just not getting the carries. He's not getting the opportunities because we have Jamal Williams coming in, we've got Craig Reynolds coming in, and it's taking away the opportunities away from Swift. I don't know if he'd be the ultimatum of Jonathan Taylor at this point. I think he'd be very much better than what he is right now. We're just not giving him those reps. And I think that having a great running back 2 kind of hinders the greatness of your running back 1. Um, I I would rather see DeAndre Swift be 3 down back and then have one guy like a Craig Reynolds be a backup. That's what I wouldn't mind seeing. I like
Um,
Jamal Williams. He's taken too many carries away from Swift in my opinion. For
Yeah.
all
yeah.
that Jamal Williams can do, Swift can do it and more.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I
Um,
mean, we can honestly model what the Colts are doing with theirs. They've
Mhm.
got Jonathan Taylor as their, 3 down back,
Mhm.
and
plus
then
they have
they
Naeem
bring
Hines
in
and Marlon Mack behind him.
and they bring in Naheem Hines whenever they need that change of pace back.
Right.
Uh,
I don't
back
like splitting the carries like this. I would take Swift out
It
when he
it
needs
throws off
to.
the rhythm.
Yeah, exactly. Yep,
back to
running
what
back is all about rhythm.
Austin said about Jonathan Taylor and Swift debate, though. Swift was definitely the right pick at the time, though, because of Jonathan Taylor's fumble issues in college. He did set like yard records and stuff like that, but Wisconsin didn't have much of a pass game at that time. So I think DeAndre Swift was definitely the right choice for us at the moment.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Okay. So we hit our bigger needs then: linebacker, edge, wide receiver, tight end, QB, and safety. Are those our biggest needs there?
I'd say so, yeah.
Okay, so
Mhm.
let's discuss what is our ultimate need. What's our number one need going into this offseason?
Linebacker.
Are you agreed with that, Austin?
Mine is edge, but um, I would put wide receiver over linebacker, honestly.
I see. I'm convinced that Josh Reynolds, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Quintez Cephas would be just fine. Like it would be. I think we still need to get a guy somewhere, but I don't see wide receiver as that big of a need. As like literally, we only have one linebacker currently on roster.
And we'll get guys. Those guys are gonna get resigned, and I mean,
Well, we don't know that yet.
are we talking specifically draft or
No, we're talking just
draft and
what
free
our team
Free
needs
agency?
are
agent,
right
like
now.
in the off season.
Yeah, we're just
Okay.
talking start of the offseason. What's our team needs?
Okay, then yeah, linebacker.
Okay. Linebackers number one. So now between edge, uh, wide receiver, tight end, QB, and safety. What is number two? Again, we're doing going into off season. So we have not signed people or anything like that. Just going into off season.
Safety, in my opinion.
Okay, Jake says safety. I personally think I think at this point you can kind of get on board with the wide receiver because we do need like a number one wide receiver in my opinion. Austin, what about you?
I'm on the wide receiver.
Okay.
Well, can I vow for my safety pick though?
Sure.
No.
Well, okay. Well,
Go
so
for it.
Will Harris is definitely not going to be on this team next year, in my opinion. It's a long shot that he will be. Tracy Walker's also not guaranteed a roster spot
Yeah,
too, because I've
I
heard
forgot
rumors
about
about him being cut. So that gives us no one starting at free safety or strong safety. So I personally, I would take that as the bigger need by a land, like by miles, because like you said, Ben, I think like the wide receivers are fine for now. So I would definitely take safety over wide receiver for now.
I could see that. I think that I don't know. I think it's tougher. I think it's tougher to find a bona fide wide receiver one than it would be to then rather than get one of the guys we have still like a Bobby Price or something you can go back there and fill in and we could then get somebody in free agency. I think that they could do a decent job of filling in with Aaron Glenn back there teaching them. I think that like you need to have the superstar wide receiver one. Like we just don't have Amon Ra is doing his best to try to fill that role right now, but he's not that kind of guy. He's going to be a great like guy, a secondary guy for us eventually, but we need that like number one guy. And I think that safety it could be easily filled throughout free agency and draft. That I'm not too worried about safety position going into offseason. I mean, I am, but not more than I think I am wide receiver.
I'm personally more worried about safety because, I mean, like for example, if a team like throws it down deep and we have a practice squad guy, no, none of the Jerry Jacobs, AJ Parker stuff, but like we have a practice squad guy who is down there like contesting Justin Jefferson or Devontae Adams. They're in our division. I don't see it being pretty, and can see an easy game plan for the other team. So that's just how I see it as.
Okay, so let me throw you, and you can. I mean, I'm a right wide receiver just because me and Austin both put that down. But I'm just curious on your answer for this. If you go into this free agency with the squad that we've got, and not talking about Tracy Walker coming back or anything like that, and you have, let's say, all of your cap space to sign one player, are you going and getting the best wide receiver, or and then like decent safeties, or are you going and getting the best safety and you're going to get, your okay wide receivers?
I would get the best wide receiver and a decent
Yeah, I think you can do
safety.
more filling in with like
Yeah, but we
decent
have more at
safeties.
wide receiver than we do have safety right now. That's just what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
there.
no, I agree.
I mean, just think of how big of a difference it would make if we had that number one wide receiver that can go on the outside, stretch the field, take defenders away from our guys who are ever gonna, are crossing routes through the middle, and I mean, it would just open up so many lanes for even Amon Ra to be able to, crossing route through the middle, and
Yeah.
I mean that's why I'm on board with we need a number one wide receiver.
Yeah.
Got to have somebody
I
on the
can see
outside.
that.
Which did you guys see the tweet I texted you
Yes.
with Amon Ra tweeting out getting his former teammate to come to us?
Yep. He was I mean, and I know Jake's going to want to talk about him a lot because that's
I love
one of
Drake
his
London.
best. Yeah, it's one of his best wide receivers coming into this draft. So
My top
we'll
pick.
definitely have more time to talk about him for sure. It's definitely a guy that's on my big board as well to be keeping an eye on. I think that would be a great pairing. Hopefully he can just last because we're not picking him up at number 2. So we're
No.
either trading down and grabbing him and something else, or hopefully he
he's there with our
lasts
second pick.
Yeah, hopefully he's there in our second pick. Otherwise, if we're gonna go after him. Okay, so after wide receiver, so right now our number one need linebacker. Number 2, wide receiver. Number 3, where are we at with number
Secondary.
3?
Safety.
Safety? Okay. Yeah. I was either safety or tight end for this one. Again, because we have only TJ Hawkinson as our tight end. But
I mean, we do have Zylstra, and we had Wright. It's just unfortunate that they've both gotten hurt.
I don't like either one of those as backups, though.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
like
I mean, it's
either one
true.
of those.
But
So, yeah,
I mean,
okay.
that's one of the positions where I feel like you can get somebody late in the draft, and
Sure.
that could fill in
Yeah.
pretty decently.
Or free agency too.
Or free agency, yeah.
There's always
yeah.
some good tight ends in free agency. Yeah. Okay. So we've got safety off the board now as our top needs. So we have edge, tight end, and quarterback, and we have 2 spots left. So we have number 4 and number 5. Our current top 5 list is linebacker number 1, wide receiver number 2, safety number 3, number 4. What are we putting?
I'd say edge because we can have the debate about like to talk about safety to wide receiver. Which one would you rather have, an elite wide receiver and elite safety? Like I'd say I'd rather have like the top guy in the draft, Kayvon Thibodeau or Aiden Hutchinson, over like an elite tight end. Personally, we already have that.
Sure.
But like I that's the debate I would make for that.
Yeah, I'm completely on board with edge. I think having an elite edge rusher, I mean, immediately
Makes
steps
a
your
difference.
defense up. Yeah, immediately steps your defense up. I'm totally on board with edge there. Austin, what about you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we've got 1 spot left, and we've got tight end or quarterback. What are we thinking for our final need?
I'd say tight end.
Yeah, my vote's on tight end.
Man, I'm shocked at the turnaround that we have had this season. If you remember, like 5 weeks ago,
Oh yeah, we were calling for all the QB's heads.
would have been number 1 on this list, and now we are good, and we are like feeling confident enough. Personally, you know how I feel. I wouldn't mind having QB up higher, but like this is insane to me that quarterback's not even going to be in our top 5 needs right now.
Okay. You want to hear my take on this?
Okay, let's hear your take.
All right. So my take is we have a decently capable number 1 quarterback right now, and Jared Goff,
Below that.
He's gonna be, decently serviceable for this next year. After that, his cap hit goes way down, and it's like what, 10 million, I think, somewhere around that. Then you can cut him, and we can draft somebody. But as for this next year, we have a number 1 QB that can fill in and do the job. He's not going to be amazing, but he'll do the job.
So then my question is, next year, say that we get, okay, here's my scenario, right? You can either pick up let's just say there's a guy I like, Bailey Zapka. Is it Zapka? Zappy? Something like that. Out of, I think it's West Virginia. He broke a whole bunch of records this year for passing. Looks like a very good quarterback, just not talked about very much. You probably get him 3rd round, maybe even. Imagine you get him at 3rd round. Let's even just to sweeten the pot, say your last 3rd round that you got for a compensatory pick. So, like one of your last picks in 3rd round, you pick this guy up. Has a year to sit behind Jared Goff, learn from Jared Goff, get better, and then next year when you're ready to cut Goff, you cut him, and now you have this guy who's had a year behind a pro quarterback who can step in. Or would you like to have this next year with Jared Goff? We get all these players. With all these players, I'm assuming our team gets a decent bump in wins. Maybe we get, instead of a top 5 pick, we're looking at like top 15 pick. possibly you might not get the top guy at whatever pick you're at, so you have to maybe move up. At that point, you're gonna have to probably give up another first round pick, maybe a little bit more, whatever. So then instead of having draft capital and a guy who has been sitting and is ready to go, you've got to throw this rookie quarterback in and expect them to win right away. Is that what you guys would prefer to do rather than like maybe take a flyer on some guy that the coaching staff likes late and see if you can sit behind him and be ready to go next year? Or would you guys rather trade the draft capital to get a guy that you think possibly could be ready from day one?
I actually have something interesting to say about that. Like, I feel like next year's quarterback talent is significantly better. And for example, CJ Stroud out of Ohio State, I'm not sure if he's going to be in the draft next year. I'm not 100% sure about that yet, but he's a freshman this year and he came in and he's an automatic Heisman candidate.
Mhm.
So it's just like talent like that, who could obviously come in and probably make a difference for you day one. You can't ignore that rather than a third round talent quarterback, in my opinion.
Okay, Austin, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would rather have a different skill position player at, with this, our last third round. I don't know. I mean, it's tough because you can always, if you really have to, you could go out and you can sign a free agent QB to come in and kind of fill the gap as well and just have a gap quarterback. I mean, it depends on the talent that we would have at that time. I don't know. There's
It's
so many
difficult.
there's so many factors that go into
Yeah,
this
it's
because
so difficult, especially when you're
I mean it's
rebuilding
it's
because
who's
you have to think of
available at the
everything.
time. It's who's
Uh-huh.
available at the time. So
And think like all of these NFL analysts and whatever said that this group of quarterbacks that just came out, one of the best groups of quarterbacks that we've ever seen ever, right? Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be this absolute amazing, like best
It's
quarterback we've
been 1
seen
year.
since
It's been
Andrew
1
Luck.
year.
I understand. No, I understand that. But like we had Trevor
Andrew
Lawrence
Luck
was supposed
never
to be.
came in his first year and was lights out either.
No, I
So
know, but hold on. So we had him. We had Justin Fields was supposed to be amazing. Zach Wilson, and all of their first years were awful. Imagine if Dan Campbell does a draft this year, does not get a quarterback. Okay. Next year is his year number 2, right? We're already like saying, all right, at year 2, you're expected to hit this mark. And then if you go into year 3, you now draft your quarterback. He's going to be expected to like have the season, even if it is just a rookie quarterback. Like he's going to expect to have that. Like you drafted this guy this year, you should be getting playoffs. If this is your guy, you should be getting playoffs. None of these quarterbacks that they got besides Mac Jones, and that's with the best head coach of all time, is making it to the playoffs. Like
what you're saying is it's possible.
Dan Campbell's seat would be getting awfully hot if the possibility of that quarterback didn't pan out. That's all I'm saying. I think it's something to consider as well because it's his third year. And a lot of people are saying at year 3, we're expecting the rebuild to be nearing its finish, where we are now starting to compete for playoff spots. Just saying, if you take you take this year to keep what you've got going, and then you're putting it all in on this quarterback you've got, and it just flops, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough for the rebuild for sure. Because then what do? You gotta go out and get a bridge quarterback again, and then try to find somebody in the next draft. Like, I don't know about that. Maybe trade for another team like a Matthew Stafford or something. I don't know. It's difficult. It's gonna be very interesting to see what Brad Holmes does.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but Goff would still be under contract.
Oh God. Oh man. Yeah, here's what I really hope for, right? I hope Jared Goff just continues to get comfortable in the scheme. Our offensive line gets back to full health. We get the wide receivers help. He has a full off season with the team, builds more of the chemistry, that everyone starts working well. The secondary continues its growth with Okuda, with all of these guys back. We get these draft picks in here and they make a difference. Man, I'd like to just see things go well. I really would, because I think that they're doing things the right way. We just got to see it start, all of the pieces start clicking in together. I think that it's possible, but man, oh man, I really just want to start seeing it. I really do. But all right, well, I think that kind of does it for our top 5 list. Our top 5 list for needs this offseason is as I read it in order: number 1, linebacker; number 2, wide receiver. And when we're talking about that, we're specifically talking about our big wide receiver, number 1. Number 3 need is our safety position. Number 4 is edge. Number 5 is tight end. So I think that's a pretty good list. And then I would assume QB is probably number 6 then at that point if we were.
Honorable mention.
Yeah, honorable mention is quarterback. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. I guess we'll do it next week. Lions versus Green Bay. Finish up the season.
Woo.
Well,
it should be an interesting one.
You guys expect the Packers to start many players? They're guaranteed the number 1 seed in the NFC.
I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised if they sit some people.
Just
it's
a
possible.
few.
Yeah, it's
Just
possible. Yeah, okay. Lions versus Green Bay. Thing that you think you know. Final prediction for the season. Austin, I'm going to start with you for this one.
Lions lose.
Okay, Jake.
Lions win.
Ooh.
All right then.
One thing I think I know. Lions
I like
tie. One of us will be right.
I like our chances against Green Bay's backups.
I don't know. I'm not 100%
Like
sure.
to have all their backups in.
I don't know about that. I think that it's
would
still a
think so,
divisional
too.
game. They still want to
I'm
beat
saying
up.
probably first half they'll have most starters in. And then maybe after that, depending on what the score is, they'll have some backups start coming in. Because they don't want to take a complete week off. They still want to have, their starters get some game time.
It'll be a good preseason game for them. All right. So then after the Lions versus Green Bay, we will have our final recap episode where we're going to go over briefly the Lions versus Green Bay game. I'm assuming we're not going to want to talk about that one very much as well. So we're going to go ahead and start talking about offseason. We're going to recap the Green Bay game, and then we're going to recap the season as a whole, how we feel. And then in weeks coming up, we're going to talk kind of overall grading the season, grading the coaches, grading the GM, and we're going to start having some fun with it. Offseason is where it starts to get fun, and we're going to have some fun with it. Might be a little bit more of a bi-weekly thing or something like that, because sometimes the offseason gets a little bit dull, but we'll keep sending some stuff out there. But yeah, next week we'll be back here talking about Lions versus Green Bay. As always, if you've not done so already, make sure you are following the podcast on our anchor.fm site. We are also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Spotify just recently added a thing where you can go ahead and give us a rate. So please give us our 5 stars on there. We would really appreciate it. We can also be watched on YouTube now. So if you'd like to
like and subscribe.
Yes, like and subscribe. If you want to take a look at our beautiful faces as we're sitting here in middle of the night with our fuzzy pajamas on and stuff, feel free to do so. But yeah, other than that, review, share us with your friends. Until next time, go Lions.